How do you top Avatar with 2 and 3?
I cry. I just sit here at my desk and I cry all day long.
Hey, welcome back to ScreenCrush. I'm Ryan Airy. Avatar: The Way of Water is finally in theaters 13 years after the original movie, which begs the question, what took so long? Well, 2 words, James and Cameron.
James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron.
So that's it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, or you can at me on Twitter. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy. I'm kidding. Wait, there's more to it than that. But I'm not wrong when I say that James Cameron is the reason behind this. Don't just take my word for it.
What took so long? Jim takes his time.
See, Cameron is known in the industry as a perfectionist and someone who will go toe-to-toe with the studio to get what he wants. As an example, back when the first Avatar was about to be released, the studio pushed back on the runtime and the amount of flying around on the ikran. To which he replied, "This building that we're meeting in right now, this new $500 million complex on your lot, Titanic paid for that, so I get to do this." Mic drop. Ballsy, I know, but he did clarify to Vanity Fair, "I feel that my job is to protect their investment, often against their own judgment. But as long as I protect their investment, all is forgiven." And protecting the investment is exactly what Cameron has been doing for the past 13 years. How? Well, let's dive in and find out. Pun intended. First, the scripts. Cameron planned on shooting Avatar 2 and 3 back to back, similar to how the Pirates of the Caribbean films are shot. But he didn't want to begin shooting anything until all the scripts were done. This was so everyone, both working in production and cast, could see where it was all going. The narrative had to be clear, and the tracks between the films needed to be cohesive while also allowing each script to be fully formed, which took time. 4 years of time. The number of sequel films also kept fluctuating from 2 to 3 and then 4. Plus, they were developing the Pandora ecosystem, the characters, the creatures, all simultaneously. It wasn't until February 2017 that the scripts were actually fully completed. Now, while the scripts were also being written, Cameron went into pre-production research. He was adamant about shooting the next film underwater, but the motion capture technology for water shoots did not exist yet. This is perhaps the biggest reason this took so long. Motion capture systems operate on an optical base, meaning that it uses markers that are photographed with hundreds of cameras. The problem is that the interface between the air and the water form a moving mirror, and that mirror reflects on all the dots and markers, creating thousands of false targets, thus making it difficult to capture accurate performances. One thing that helped was a tip that he learned when filming The Abyss. He placed a bunch of black plastic balls to help stop light from coming into the water.
The beads were poured into the water to break that surface reflection and turn it into blackness. And also we used beads instead of something laying in the water because of the safety factor.
Now, for The Way of Water, Cameron had a 900,000 gallon water tank that was designed to emulate ocean currents, but instead of black beads, he placed a bunch of plastic white balls at the top. Pictures of the actors in this tank with said balls are all over the internet. When you're doing performance capture in a tank, you also cannot use scuba gear very often because the bubbles will interfere with the cameras. Therefore, everyone behind and in front of the camera had to be trained on how to free dive by Kurt Crack, who trains Navy SEALs.
We did work with world-renowned free divers that train Navy SEALs.
You've probably heard by now that Kate Winslet was the champion of this and broke Tom Cruise's record by holding her breath for 7 minutes and 14 seconds.
You actually filmed a scene underwater where you held your breath for over 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Tom Cruise, his record was 6 minutes for Mission Impossible.
That's very cool.
Yes, it is. High five. A key player in enabling Cameron to film underwater is Australian cinematographer Pawel Ochtel. He is the inventor of the 3D beam splitter called the DeepX 3D. His rig is what Cameron utilized for his underwater sequences, which have special old lenses developed for underwater photography. Now, this rig was assembled to grant clean, distortion-free 3D IMAX underwater imagery. Typical IMAX cameras can also weigh more than 120 kilograms and require cranes just to get in the water as well. Pawel's DeepX 3D offered a compact, friendly underwater setup and was partnered nicely with Sony's Venice cameras. Combined, they created a stereoscopic 3D system that can shoot at a high frame rate.
The Venice camera delivers the most astonishing image I've ever seen. You get incredible dynamic range, you get perfect color. I mean, this is a stunning, crystalline, clear image.
Now, you've seen high frame rate before in Peter Jackson's The Hobbit trilogy, and it famously did not go well. For the last 80 years, the industry standard has been 24 frames a second. High frame rates go higher. What's that supposed to do? Well, it's meant to be an immersive viewing experience for the audience. When The Hobbit was released, critics and normies alike mostly found it harsh on the viewer. Some said that it made some props on screen look fake, and others said that they felt nauseated. But I think that Cameron's method will be easier to digest. He's being selective about where the frames will increase. When there is 3D, such as underwater or in some of the flying scenes, the high frame rate will be implemented. For shots of just people standing around and talking, the rate will drop back to the cinematic 24 frames a second. Now, theaters can't switch back and forth when you view the film, so it will play at 48 frames per second, but the scenes meant to be in 24 will be doubled up to help the transition appear seamless to our eyes. Here's hoping. No joke, because I got like zero desire to hurl into my popcorn. Speaking of Middle-earth, Weta Digital, they are also involved in the production of Way of Water. The process of how Cameron builds the Avatar films is extremely complicated. It involves creating a data-rich, visually undistinguished package that Cameron calls a template. The template is the shooting process of capturing the lighting, performances, and camera moves that Cameron wants. Then he hands it over to Weta to apply algorithms and layers of animation to bring the template to life. Weta's job is to turn this template data into a 3D CG character while building the world around them, which comes with all sorts of AI steps. Remember, this film has an incredibly picky and meticulous director because this is precious. Yes, we knows. So the shooting period really was a there and back again experience. Principal photography began in September 2017 at the Manhattan Beach Studios and ended November 2018 for both 2 and 3. But that was just for the mocap portion. There were still going to be about 5 months of live action filming to take place in New Zealand. Now around this time, something major happened at Fox. They were getting acquired by Disney. Most think that this set Cameron back, but it was actually more of a win. See, the House of Mouse already had a Pandora, the world of Avatar and Disney World that is widely popular and helps keep the IP fresh in consumers' minds. And Disney loves IPs that can pump out content for an extended period of time, such as Marvel and Star Wars. Acquiring Disney as a partner had to have Cameron going, I win. Hindsight became 2020, however, when the pandemic shut them and the entire world down. Cameron's team lost 4.5 months of production and almost didn't shoot in New Zealand as planned. However, in May of 2020, New Zealand's health and safety production protocols were endorsed by the national government, allowing Avatar's crew to begin filming once again. Oh, thank God. Filming in New Zealand didn't come without some controversy, though. According to the New Zealand Film Commission, the cash rebates for the upcoming movies will be the second largest in the agency's history at more than $140 million worth of subsidies. The ACT Party deputy criticized the government's film subsidy program for allegedly taking public funding from other areas, while others in the Commission's office argued that New Zealand's film subsidies for major Hollywood productions brought much-needed overseas investment and jobs to New Zealand's film industry. Lindsay Ellis covers the controversy of New Zealand's entertainment policy and favoritism to big Hollywood studios more thoroughly in her Hobbit essays. They are brilliant, they're some of my favorites, and I highly recommend that you give them to watch to learn more. The pandemic became the final reason why Avatar: The Way of Water would get pushed back 1 more year. At least the wait for the rest of the Avatar sequels will be much shorter going forward, with the next one scheduled for December 2024 and the rest locked into a bi-yearly schedule. But let's face it though, if Avatar 2 and 3 don't make enough money, there's not going to be an Avatar 4 and 5. Cameron lit up social media when he stated that the films were so expensive that to even break even, they would need to become the 3rd or 4th highest grossing movies of all time. If Way of Water doesn't deliver, Cameron won't move forward with the last 2. Each film is a fully encapsulated story, unlike the Lord of the Rings trilogy, so if he has to end it after 3, he could. And that's why it took Avatar: The Way of Water 13 years to make it to the big screen. My big question for you now is, do you think that he can do it? Are you excited to see the movie? Will you see it in IMAX 3D? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment down below or at me on Twitter. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe and smash that bell for alerts. For ScreenCrush, I'm Ryan Airy.